Okay, so here we are. Welcome to this morning's Fife Property Show. Beautiful Saturday morning. This is all about summer at home, and I know what the title says, Perry, but it's like how to stop letting your kids drive you up the wall.
Well, that's when you read it in between the lines. That's
That's
what
maybe
we're
the, that's maybe the bracket title. It's inspiration from you and your family during the school holidays. That's what we're going to be talking about, aka how to stop your kids driving yourself up the wall.
saying. Yeah. How not to go nuts on a 6-week break.
That's yeah, okay. I mean, summer holidays are always too short for children. I didn't know about you, but uh, personally for me, and everybody go, there's no surprise there. Then I got 2 weeks into my summer holidays when I was at school, and I thought I just want to go back to school.
I was the same, Jim.
I
I
don't
just
know
felt the
why.
summer holidays went on forever.
Mm. So too short for children apparently, but for adults, they seem to go on forever. Yeah, that's probably the feeling right now, isn't it? Perhaps you've already been away and you've used up all your ideas for keeping the kids occupied, and you're facing another month of finding things for the family to do without actually losing your marbles. I mean, they go back to school and maybe in the next couple of weeks, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
brass
some go
band
back towards the
brass
end of
band
next
in the
week.
street. Do, 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 do. out with the out with the it's like brass band up and down the street. It's like the end of Ryanair. Like everybody congratulate, we've landed. Yay, we've landed. So brass band up and down the street. The kids are going back to school. Woohoo. Um, with so many days to fill the summer holidays, they're a brilliant opportunity to kids to develop their interests as well, in terms of that. But it takes time and keeps doing, and what happens to plans for all weathers as well. This doesn't apply just to summer. This applies to the October holidays, the even the Christmas holidays, even the spring holidays as well. It applies to all the holidays, I would say. So it's all about filling it, and then for parents, the summer can be a constant conundrum of how you can keep your kids entertained on the TVs and the screens, have a plan whether it's rain or shine, find local things to do between those for these big days out, learning fun when you're supposed to be on holiday, learning to make it fun. It's a bit challenging for me to be on holiday. That's actually one of the things I wrote back to the courier. They actually asked me, I don't know if you've read that yet, Perry, but they actually
Oh,
asked me, what what did they say? What was it? The most difficult thing about your work? And it was like my holidays. It's like I've actually got to take holidays. It's like I don't like taking holidays. So that's the sort of thing, and carving out time for yourself. Maybe I should just listen to this and actually just take it on board. Now that's really one tall order, isn't it? So we've actually put together some inspirational experiences based on our own experiences and friends to help you fill the days until all the kids go back to school for fun and a fabulous summer at home. That's it, really. What's the first thing we need to talk about, Perry?
I think the main thing for children, and I always found this, was get out in the garden, get the kids outdoors. They want to be outdoors. If they're outdoors and they've got fresh air, they've got fun things to do, it's easy, isn't it? So staying still and quiet doesn't always come naturally for children or for adults, James.
Do you know what popped into my mind there? Do you know in the morning when I get my cats out, they come out the cat room. Yeah, they've got their own personal cat room and cinema room now. It's like they come out the cat room, and then the first thing we do is put them outside. And I thought to myself, I remember my mum doing that with me.
It's true.
It's literally every time I got up in the morning, the first thing my mum used to would do was like, right, get outside.
Mm-hmm. We were the same. What are you doing in the house? Out.
Now I know how the cat feels. So
Definitely, I think
what sort of things do we need to do then?
I think when you're outside, you can unleash your senses of adventure as well, don't you? You want to have adventure. You want to see nice things. Outdoor fun. Some top tips that we've got is, again, I always used to love doing this when I was a kid. Like hide treats and toys for fun treasure hunts. I think children like that, don't they? It's like when they do the egg hunt at Easter. Kids love that, don't they? Actually, I was in Silverburn Park when they did theirs, and the children were just hyper, running around the park, finding the chocolate eggs. It was a great thing to do. So a little thing like that's always quite nice for the kids to do if you've got a nice garden space or go to the park. Scavenger hunts are good things as well, and there's loads of lists if you go on like Pinterest and other online channels, so you'll find things of how you can do that. Pitching up a tent as well, I'm seeing that quite a lot just now in people's gardens. The tents are there, the kids are sleeping outside, which is fun.
I've got a glorified version of that. It's called my camper van in the drive.
I would love one of those, Jim. That's my dream, is to have one. Genuinely,
I've never ever stopped camping in the garden. And you know, there was the standard joke was a couple of years back when I missed out in Glastonbury. I actually I camped out in the back garden and I watched Glastonbury on my mobile while it was on. I just sat in my tent and watched Glastonbury all night.
It's great though to be outside though, isn't it? I think there's something nice about that. Even if it is just in your driveway, you still feel like you're somewhere else, don't you, in your mind?
Yeah.
But for kids as well, it's a great way for them to play. I was going to say get some shade as well on the sunny days, but we haven't had much sunshine, have we?
Yeah, when it happens, as soon as the sun comes out, it's like taps off. It's only 13 degrees. I don't care. It's like we're getting on with it, right? Just find a place where we can shade us from the wind, and that'll do.
We're all set. One of the other things I used to love doing in the garden when I was little as well was the swing ball. I used to love that, getting the swing ball set up. I don't know about that though. It's meant to be a safe game, but it can get quite vicious when you're playing your siblings at it. You definitely need to duck.
Yeah, a couple of times I used to try and have a go at my brothers. And just a nice healthy rivalry, competitive nature as I am.
That's good. I think the other thing as well, make your garden the best picnic spot in town as well. I love a picnic. It's also a nice way to go outside. And you can kind of jazz it up just now. A lot of people are doing like high teas and things, but you can jazz it up with, proper china plates. You're not humping everything across a field. You're just literally going out into the garden, which is nice. And you've got clean loos if you're doing it at home and not in a park.
Do you know what a great thing I used to do? Because we, let's be honest, we never really bought tents when we were younger. We were lucky enough to get them, old scout tents from people that had been involved with the scouts years ago, and they were getting rid of them. But one of the things I used to do was just take a bed sheet and put it over and just put it over the actual washing line, and actually put bricks at either side, and that was it. That was my tent. I used to spend hours on end in there. Just having a great time. Even fell asleep a couple of times as well. It was quite surprising. Mind you, I was probably a bit hyper. You're going to say it's never changed.
I'm not saying anything. I'm keeping my opinions to myself.
But it's a great way of, for people that it's like, oh, I can't afford tents and all the rest of it. Well, get a bed sheet and stick it over your washing line. If you've not got a washing line, just make a washing line from one place to another on a fence or a gate or something like that, and then stick one over. And the kids will have a great time in there. I mean, their imagination runs riot. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be, it could be a palace in their mind. Even it's just a sheet over it's just a sheet over a washing line, and literally, it's like, to them, it's like a palace. And then all of a sudden, all the stuff appears like what you said, Perry. It's like the juice and the biscuits and the cakes and all the different things, and have a fantastic time. And they're not bothered if it's raining or not. No. It's like they'll stay out there till the end of the earth.
Kids enjoy the freedom as well, don't they? And they want that freedom of expression, and being outdoors is always a good way to do it. And I know that's challenging because a lot of kids nowadays as well, we're a technology company, is what we do. And a lot of children nowadays are very much into their tech. So sometimes it's hard to get them away from that and get them outdoors, isn't it? So you have to try and come up with fun ideas to be able to do that and get them outside.
I think that's an easy one, actually, just for the fact that, you stick a sheet over a washing line in the back garden and put some cakes and juice and biscuits in there, and they'll disappear there straight away. They'll be out there in a flash. It's an easy way to do that. A great one as well is, for entertaining, and I know we're going to explore the joys of gardening, is I'm convinced my father used to chuck a 50p piece in the dirt in the garden, And it was like he used to put money around it. I'm sure he did it. He used to put, well, probably 10 pence pieces at that time. So he used to put 10 pences around the garden. And then when you were turning the garden over for the potato season for him putting his potatoes in, it's like you would find 10 pence and you go, oh my God, it's like I'm rich. My dad used to say to me, hey, you might find something else. And it's like, geez, did we know dig the whole of the garden? And it's called cheap labour, but it's an easy dig. So if you're a parent out there, a top tip, throw a couple of 50 pences in the garden, or maybe pound coins or something like that. Make sure your kids find them when they're digging the garden over. And then just say to them, oh, there might be more lying about. And it's like they'll have the whole garden dug by the end of the day.
That was definitely a generation thing for us then, because my dad used to do the same thing. I'd be out there breaking my back with a spade and the big fork, digging it all up.
We used to build tunnels. We used to actually dig. We actually used to dig right down about 4 or 5 feet and then dig along, and we used to line the tunnels with actual, with the curb. So we'd get the curb stones, and then we'd get long floorboards, and you'd put floorboards across the curb stones, and then we'd line the tunnels with wood either side. So we'd have a proper tunnel. So if it collapsed, we'd be okay. That's the type of things we used to do.
Why am I not surprised?
I'll be honest, inspired by The Great Escape. That's really where you got it from. When you're watching the films and stuff like that, and you saw them digging under, and you saw how they were building stuff, it just shows you what actually goes in terms of engineering capability. Because, I must have been about maybe 6 or 7, and we were digging tunnels at that time and actually creating line tunnels with proper support and everything, so it wouldn't actually collapse. My friend actually had a thing that you put your crash helmet on, and you went in, and you actually went round the whole tunnel circuit in his back garden, and then came out the other end and went, I made it. And we used to have speed tests. Work that one out. And yet, it's like that. Folk just didn't do that nowadays.
No.
But I think that's what inspires children to be creative and be imaginative.
I absolutely agree. And I think it is I know you joked about earlier on about competitiveness, but actually there's a bit of that as well. And actually that runs through all of your life. That's what you've always been like. So even from a very young age, from doing a fun thing, kind of builds on what you become as an adult, doesn't it?
It probably does, yeah. I'm going out and dig a tunnel at the end of this.
A cat tunnel.
I think as well. Now we're on that. Just let me, because this is all coming back to me. We used to have a sand pit at the back of the garden. Now it was literally, to us, it was a sand pit. To my dad, it was the sand he was using to mix the cement to build the garage. But we used to spend hours on end in that sand pit with our Matchbox cars. And we used to dig all the tunnels all the way through. We used to build a big mountain, and we'd dig tunnels all the way through to the other end for our Matchbox cars to go in through. All these different things that we did. And literally, it never cost us a penny.
And that's the beauty of it, actually, Jim. That for the holidays is a long time and everything is expensive. So you do need to try and find fun ways of getting the kids outside that's also not going to cost, break the bank, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I think exploring joys of your garden is a big thing. And actually, I do that with my wee ones. Getting them into the garden, getting them to plant something, getting them to look at the bugs, educating them, teaching them, looking at what the bees and the slugs and the butterflies and all of those things are. Getting them to plant little flowers. And worms I didn't like.
The worms were fascinating. It's like worms are just like they're male and female apparently together. Well, I've still not worked it out, but I think they are. The way they are, and it's like they're conjoined together. It's like that's how they are, and it's weird. And apparently, I don't know if this is true. It's like
you're not going to talk about cutting them in half.
Please forgive me. Yes, please forgive me. I don't know if it's true. Apparently, if you cut them in half, they actually just produce 2 worms. I'm not really sure if that's true or no. But if that was wrong, then I'm very, very sorry to whoever that is.
God.
But that's what I was told. That's what I was told. Centipedes as well. Millipedes. Millipedes were with their wee, their wee boots. All the way, 100 boots going along. All these different. Hey, listen, go to a country like Morocco or Kenya or something like that, and you'll see millipedes. I'll tell you. It's like something frightening out of a film.
They're massive. However, Let's get away from bugs.
Yes.
With so many ideas and possibilities, your garden is effectively a secure adventure playground for your kids. They can entertain themselves for hours without defaulting to screen, as I mentioned earlier on.
Hours on end. You could spend loads of time out there. Easy
Yeah.
enough to set up a barbecue as well, isn't it?
Mhm.
You know, that would be a good idea. You know, if you're having a barbecue or something like that. I don't recommend alcohol and barbecue in the same sentence.
No, never goes
It's
down
like-
well.
Especially if you're dealing with pyrotechnics, stuff like that. But that's just a personal experience. So, I mean, whether it's raining or whether it's shining, you know, what sort of, I mean, the British weather is quite typical, eh? So what we're talking about for that then? You know, what can
Well, I
we
think
do?
for me, you never know what the weather's going to be like, and that's the thing, isn't it? So, it could be great from one summer to the next. But planning ahead can be a bit of a block race. So sometimes you just need to be a bit spontaneous. But
Yeah.
statistically, the UK gets between 8 and 15 days of rain in August.
Mhm.
You can bet they'll fall when it's your big day to go somewhere. That's always the case, isn't it? But you have to work around that. So, be flexible with your plans. Have a plan B, as we like to call it. But, for visiting outdoor theme parks, they're always good fun for kids. You can generally only need to buy one ticket for the day. So you get like these bands that just allow you to do everything, which is a really good way for the kids to enjoy things. So, even if you buy your tickets a couple of days ahead, sometimes you can get hefty discounts as well. So it's important to kind of do a wee bit of research on those types of things. But
Get
you
there
didn't.
early so you get the full day out of it rather than just half the day. It's amazing how many people have great plans of grandeur in the beginning. It's like, but just make sure you get there early so you can get the full amount out of it, so you can get the full enjoy it. I would rather get there early and enjoy it and have time to come home, or than get there late and then have to stay there till the wee hours. Just to like getting your money's worth. It's typical sort of McDonald's thing. There is other burger joints available, by the way, but like getting your money's worth is definitely I might actually just get that put on my gravestone. Like getting your money's worth.
But it's true though.
Paying for the fence, but like getting his money's worth.
That's true though, Jim. And actually, I feel as well when you get there really early doors, not everyone does. So actually, you're not queuing for so long either. But if you want to get on the rides and things, because there's nothing worse for kids if they've got to queue and queue and queue. It's that whole "are we there yet" situation, isn't it?
Yeah, we took about 3 hours to get into Alton Towers one year. It was horrendous, and that was from the very beginning. I was like, "This is easy. We've all bought tickets. Surely you can just scan us and let us in." But I tell you what, it took ages. So just make sure you've planned in advance and you know exactly how the place operates and how when they open. Because some will actually say the park opens at 11, but they'll start letting everybody in at 10:30. That's another possibility. So just plan ahead and make sure you're doing that. What other things do we need to think about then?
I think as well, if you're not going to be able to do things like that and you are at home, we've talked about some of the fun things you can do outside, but if it's a rainy day as well, and I used to love this with my sisters when we were my mum used to just open our wardrobe and then we were able to kind of put, not our Sunday best stuff, of course, but we were able to use our other bits. And, you used to play dress up with the heels and the dresses and everything. It was a bit of fun.
I used to love it as well. Come on, I was only 5. It's like, let's be honest. At that age, it's a typical thing that you would do.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a fun thing that kids do as well. They enjoy it.
My sister used to make me paint my nails with nail varnish all the time.
Oh God.
I know, but that's what happens when you got a big sister, eh? You sit there and get it. It's like, okay then.
You'll do what you're told. Exactly. But I used to love that though. We used to put like little pantomime productions on. My younger sister though, she was a nightmare. She used to have one of these emu puppets, the ones that you put over your arms.
Yes.
And she would just chase you around the house with this thing. Oh my God, it used to drive me crazy. But the show might never happen, but the kids will be occupied for hours. And I think that's the key thing. Don't necessarily feel that you have to produce something, but just let them have fun and enjoy it. And I think that's the key thing.
Many times, I tell you what happens so many times is there's the default position. It's like, let's switch the telly on.
I know.
And and let them put that on in the background. But to me personally, I think it's a big distraction. I often, even when I walk in to see customers, I will say to them, look, any chance you could just put the telly off. I mean, even if they've got it down a wee bit and they've got the voice in the background and it's just slight, it's a huge distraction for me because I zone out on
Mhm.
that. I pick it
Mhm.
up quite easily.
Mhm.
So it becomes a distraction for me, and I really want to give them the best of me when I'm there.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it is often that, while some people actually don't think that actually happens to other people, it does.
It does a lot.
Easily, hey, it's all over my report cards when I was younger.
Easily
Easily,
distracted.
honestly, easily distracted
Me too.
everywhere. Easily distracted everywhere. Honestly, I could take out every single report card I've got in primary, and every single year it was easily distracted. Easily distracted. He's a bit of a dreamer. Thank you very much, by the way. He is a bit of a dreamer, because it is dreamers that change the world.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's what's needed. So yeah, I agree with you on the whole TV thing. Let's not get them defaulting to screen when they're kids. They want to be enjoying it and making memories together. And I think that's the key thing as well, isn't it? And you want summer to be fun. I think for me as well, call me old-fashioned, but I can't beat classic games. I love games. We do it with our kids when they were
Yeah.
wee all the time. And we used to holiday in the UK quite a lot when the boys were little. And every hotel we used to go to, if they didn't have games, if they didn't mention somewhere that they had them, we would take them with us. And we just loved it. So, get your classic games out, your Downfall, your Connect Four, your Ludo, Snakes and Ladders, Jenga, the boys used to like. You get the big giant ones as well. Buckaroo I used to like as well. It was that whole anticipation of it going, wasn't it? Kerplunk I used to like, although my dad didn't like us playing that because it was too noisy for him. He was like, what a racket you are making.
I had a couple of classic games called Crossfire, was one of them, where you had the steel ball bearings and you fired them against a puck, and you would, to get it into the other one. And then the other one was Rebound, where you had to, you had the top corner with the two rubber bands, and you had to push the puck up, and it bounced off the top, came back the bottom, and it went back the other end. And if you did it too much, it would fall into the tray, and then you'd be out. Kind of like
Okay.
bowl. Kind of like bowls and its concept, but it
Mhm.
was called Rebound. I don't know if
Mhm.
anybody else out there
Remember
remembers
that?
Crossfire and Rebound. It's like Crossfire was the thing I wanted for Christmas.
I don't even remember that, Jim. But even now as adults, I do that, and my kids will do that. If we come together, like on days like Christmas and things like that, we always get the board games out and we'll play games.
The classic for me is the one I was brought up on, and the one I still do today is Monopoly.
I like Monopoly.
Monopoly has got to be the ultimate game. I'd be interested to hear everybody else's comment about what their ultimate game is, but mine has got to be Monopoly. And in all honesty as well, there's no surprise when I said this, but it taught me a lot about property investing.
Well, I guess it does actually. It's not just a fun thing. You've kind of taken on board what it is.
Honestly, it got me started in the whole thing. That's what really tipped it when I was younger. And the fact that, the whole property investment thing, I understood it completely from Monopoly. And then I just learned everything else after that. It was a great game for that.
I think for me, one of the things I used to love as well was Scrabble, because in those days it was a real good way of educating yourself, and I still play it now.
Yep. And I do not play it.
Why?
Because English isn't my greatest subject, and having to, it must be that type of thinking. It must be the way. It must be a different part of your brain that you use. And for me, it's like it's an immediate no. I don't know why, but Elaine loves things like that. But then opposites attract. That's what happens.
True.
She loves that sort of thing, whereas I just like, I don't. It's a Marmite thing to me.
Elaine plays that Wordle as well, doesn't she? She enjoys that.
Yeah, she enjoys all these different things. It's like, but when somebody asks me to do word quizzes and conundrums and stuff like that, it's like, no. But see, when they ask me to do something that's analytical and mathematical, it's like, I'm in there straight away, swimming. It's like, yay, this is brilliant. Straight in the water, no doubt about it.
I know. I can see the numbers thing, but I am surprised about the word thing. I thought that you'd be right into that. Of course, not all of these things entertain kids, and there are some days actually maybe where you've had lots of fun the previous day and you're all tired, and there is a moment for just snuggling up and watching a movie as well and getting the popcorn and just chilling. So everyone does need some chill time, especially if it is tipping down outside and you can't really do much else. But it's handy to have a backup and some creative activities as well. One of the things I used to love doing with the kids was colouring in as well. I used to just sit with pictures at the table and crayons and everything and sit and colouring in. My kids used to love doing that. And even now, actually, as an adult, it's a really, I'm kind of going off piece here a little bit, actually. But also, I think for colouring in as an adult, it's a really good thing for your brain as well. So, you know, for your mental health and everything, it's a real good way of calming yourself. So it's a really top tip for that as well. You got all these really great design books now for grown-ups, which is great.
It's easy enough to print something off the internet though as well, isn't it? Just an outline and actually just colour it in for your kids. So you don't need to actually go out and spend money and buy something to do it. And again, it's just creative. It's actually getting them to to learn to colour in within the lines, and then also to understand the concept of mixing colours and what they make up. So there's a lot of lessons to be taught in that, and you actually just need to let the kids get on with it. You just like throw down some pens and crayons and stuff like that, and then just give them some blank canvas to draw on. And then they'll crack on and they'll work it out themselves. But it's good fun. But then maybe make a reward at the end of it, something like you'll get. Well, at the end of this, we'll have some ice lollies and we'll have cake and juice and all the rest of it. That's the sort of thing for me that really is cost effective. But it's really a family orientated thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then we do lose that, don't we? As culture has begun to change into the pop culture sort of thing, and now we're into social media culture, whereas that's all been pushed to the side. But generally, that's something that's really needed in development of young children, I would say.
It's about development, because actually it gives you all the skill sets you need when you become an adult as well. And one of the things I used to love doing when the boys were little, and I do it even now with younger children, my nephews' kids and things like that, is baking as well. Get them in the kitchen, let them make the little cupcakes and decorate them, and biscuits and icing them. And again, it's just a fun thing to do. And even as a grown up now, I remember back to when I was a child and I used to bake with my mum. And they're good memories to have that actually sometimes you forget to create.
I used to love making tablet, but the problem was you always got yourself burnt in some sort of way.
I know, that was really hot.
It's like molten lava.
It is a wee bit.
I keep stirring that pot, and I'm like, can I not get somebody else to do this? Because it's like, no, if you leave it, it'll burn. So you'll have to keep stirring it. But the payoff at the end was that you got to lick the bowl.
Yeah, well, that was a good bit at the end. I used to like that as well, I must admit. So these are all the fun things you can do on rainy days, isn't it? Because you can't always get outside, and they don't need to be expensive either. But the other thing to look at as well, if you don't want to be, sometimes cost of travel is expensive. People don't necessarily want to have to take a family of 4 on the train or a big bus journey or something like that. So, looking for entertainment on your doorstep would be my next suggestion as well. I think that's a really important thing.
Classic example today, Prom Fest. It's all free. So walk down there. And then there's other areas as well. Bow House is on the day as well for a bit of walk around. And then there's music at the back as well. So there's lots of entertainment. You're absolutely right in your community. You just need to find out. And social media must be, we've been decrying it for a wee while, but social media is definitely a really good medium to find that out. You go on your local community pages and you'll find out what's going on.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important that you do that and actually enjoy the things that are happening in your community. You find lots of good entertainment. Like you say, Prom Fest is going to be fabulous. They've been setting it up all week and it looks fantastic. But heading out locally is a great way to avoid, as I said earlier on, the travel costs and lengthy delays and getting stuck and thinking how we're going to get home. There's usually lots more going on during school holidays as well, so there's always fun things to find out. Silverburn Park's one of the best places at the moment. Silverburn have lots of events that they're doing for our kids, and a lot of them are about arts and crafts and obviously being outdoorsy. So really important to explore those things. But many theatres,
local parks as well, that a lot of investment has gone into from the communities. The council or the community council has actually contributed quite a lot to it. For example, St Monan's Play Park has obviously been regenerated. The Anstruther Dreelside Play Park's been regenerated. Then you've got over into St Andrews, you've got Spider Park over there, which is a skateboard park. They're all getting regenerated as well. And then up in the Cooper area, there's another one up there as well. So there's lots of different places that have actually had a huge investment in them driven by community. It's really driven by community, but the councils and that have contributed towards that and funding from other areas in order to make it happen for these. And generally, the refurbs are around about £150,000, so they're not to be sniffed at, and they're really good quality play parks. It's all free. It's like you don't pay for that.
No. And it's not only that, we are so blessed where we live, Jim, as well. We've got all these beautiful local beaches.
Yep.
And all these little nooks and crannies you can enjoy as well. But one of the other things as well, and I think it's really important, I mean, Leven's got the Kino Cinema, and there's one in Glenrothes as well. And many of the theatres and cinemas locally have children's productions. They do family-friendly films. They're doing them in the daytimes, they're doing them in the evenings, they're doing them at the weekends. It's like Collinsborough Town Hall, they even did a production on there last weekend. So, you know, go out and look for them, and they're generally not that expensive either.
Yeah. Did you ever have, like, every other week somebody came to school with a broken arm?
Oh,
And it was always, they were always climbing a tree.
definitely. Fall off their bikes.
The dumb things you did. It's like I was trying to balance with one hand on my bike or something, or I was trying to stand on the saddle while I was trying to jump something at the same time, and it's like, where does that all? I think Evel Knievel's got a lot to blame for that, by the way.
He enticed all the kids out.
Yeah, that's the type of things. And you know, Napoleon Dynamite was a classic example. Have you ever watched that film where he has the ramp and he goes along on his bike and he tries to jump about 4 or 5 of his friends lying down at the same time? It's that is the type of things we used to do, and that's why a lot of people used to come with broken arms to school.
Definitely. But I think as well, we talk about being outside, but it is a free resource, like you said. You know, we've got lots of parks, playgrounds, you've got forest walks, the beaches, as I said earlier on, lovely countryside. I used to love when we were kids as well. We used to go berry picking, we used to climb trees, like you said, you're falling out of them. You're simply things like putting a game of football, you're getting the t-shirts down, the kids on the parks and just playing outdoors and just having freedom, isn't it, to express yourself? I think it's a big thing. But if you're into more of the cultural, if you're into more cultural things as well, obviously there's lots of galleries and museums. You know, often those are hub for summer activities, specifically for, you know, if you're into designing things and sparkling things and creativity for kids and using their imagination. It's really great to be able to do these things with them and go out exploring.
Outdoor swimming pools is a good one. Well, look at these. You can, you know, we've got the beach, haven't we? More or less, we're surrounded by 117 miles of coastal path and beach. I had to get the Fife coastal path in there somewhere. From the start of Kincardine right to Newborough, and the open water swimming and the tidal pools. So we've got the St Maurins tidal pool, which is really nice. You know, I like the St Maurins tidal pool. They've got the West Braes project, which is the Pit and Ween one. We've got over to the Anstruther and the harbour just next to the Arran Alive when the tide's in, actually quite a great area to
beautiful. It's a lovely little bit of beach.
And then you've also got just along at Cellardyke Tidal Pool for open water swimming, onto Crail, and then you're down to St Andrews beaches. King's Barns is beautiful. King's Barns is always sought after. The problem with King's Barns is parking most of the time. But if you get a chance, King's Barns is glorious, golden sandy beaches. And the water is crystal clear on occasions. It's really, you would actually think you're in the tropics on a sunny day. Honestly. Nice. You would think you're in one of these film locations that you see where all the, you know, the golden sandy beaches and the crystal clear waters and the shimmer of the sunshine as it hits the top of the water. It's just like, it's just glorious. And to me, it's a perfect opportunity for adults to just take, you know, relax and sit on the side, the kids to go and paddle in the water. And also you get to see in all the wee pools, you know, in the rock formations. You maybe get to see some of the sea urchins. You maybe get to see some of the limpets on the rocks as well. So these are all things in nature you get to find out about at the same time. It stimulates all that imagination and creativity in children.
So it totally does it. I love the walk from Leven Beach to Lower Largo. You come across a lot of rock pools down there, and you see like all the little crabs and everything. It's entertaining, and it's
like the Crusoe.
Aye.
The railway.
That's the end game. I never
thought they were referred to as rock pools.
They're the end game, Jim. It's like, do you fancy go for a walk? I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the first thing I used to do every single time I used to go to cycling. I used to have a payoff. I would get over to St Andrews to Costa, and my payoff would be Costa. It's like that was it. And then I would come back. And then once you're out there, you've got 16 miles to get over there. So you've got to get back anyway because you went out there on your bike. I'm a great believer in, you know, just going right out and then going, all right, okay, I've got to go back. But then you're forced to go back that way, whether you like it or not. So that's the type of thing I do when I'm training. So And again, running, walking, cycling,
Yeah.
whatever it is, there's loads of things to do. Leadmouth Railway, every Sunday, is it? Or is it every Saturday at the end of the month? It's either Sunday or Saturday. Check it out, Leadmouth Railway Preservation Society. I think it's Sunday.
It is
Every
a Sunday.
Sunday on the last of the month, they open up the doors and the kids get to ride on the trains, the historic trains that they've got, the engines. So it's really, really nice. And then they tell you all about the new rail link that's coming in, because Network Rail's right next door with their site as well. So again, and then sometimes you've got all the historic buses that are there, because they'll bring the historic buses. So you've got some open tops, you've got all the old types of buses. And it's like when you go back there as an adult with your children, it's like, God, I remember I used to ride on the buses to school. And it kind of brings back a lot of memories, good memories. So
it could be quite nostalgic.
So loads and loads of things to do. There's loads of notice boards around as well, especially on the front and Shore Street and Anshaw. There's a notice boards all over the shop windows. There's on some of the entrances to some of the actual places. You know, so they've got on their gates, they've got notice boards there as well. So there's lots of notice boards. Listen to your radio stations. Social media groups are brilliant for discovering what's going on as well. And if you want to go further afield, you can find some great lists online of family days out for every part of the UK, and every kind, from flight simulators to studios and creepy caves and castles and all the rest of it. Castles. There's loads of look at the Weems Caves.
They're brilliant.
Nobody knows about them at all. Very rarely does anybody say anything about them. But also, you've got Newark Castle on the way along to St. Monans. So when you get off at Ely, Ladies Tower. Now, Ladies Tower as well, for most of the people that don't know, people from the area do know, Ladies Tower was actually created as a viewing platform for Lady Anstruther, so she could sit there and watch the world go by from her various windows. And then also, right down, there's a wee cave, it still exists today, where she used to go and change. But in Ely, our servant used to ring the bell to tell everybody to keep away from the beach, because Lady Anstruther was changing. And it's like, go, keep away from the beach, ding-ling-ling-ling. Changing. Honestly, that's how historic these sort of things are, and how memorable they are as well. And a lot of people don't know about that. And the Newark Castle further along for there, as you go to St. Monans, it's an old ruin, and you just see it's an old ruin, but they've got a Ducat next to it. And then also in Crail, they've got one of the oldest Ducats in the world, actually, Nethergate North, next door to that. Just as you go down to Room Bay, down to the beach and the play park. So all these things are out there, but why do we never notice them? Is it just because technology and the way things work and our busy lives that we just don't take stock of them?
I think it's a mixture of all of those things, Jim, and you're absolutely right. Since we came back to Fife a few years ago, we've been exploring quite a lot of the Fife Coastal Path, as you know. And actually, I've had grown up here, born here, and then you're walking on the coastal path. The one from Kirkcaldy to Methil, actually, when it takes you past all of the mining, the Francis Colliery and all that, it's amazing what you see down there and all the monuments that are there and the stories that it's telling you and the education of the area that I knew obviously of the mines, but I didn't appreciate actually the full history behind them. And the education that's out there locally, we forget, because we just don't stop, do we? We don't stop to just enjoy.
And then you see some of the big massive buildings there as well on the way, the historic buildings, especially the Weems residence.
Yeah.
Like, that's massive, that place. Huge. And it's like huge. You'd never know that place existed.
No, it's beautiful. And the walking along the shorefront and everything down there is gorgeous. But I think it's all of those things. Sometimes we're just too busy and we don't take time out, do we? Because we've got busy lives. But it's important to take that time out with your family, especially at this time of the summer when you've got so much weeks to fill with activity.
The trail to St Andrews route on the coastal path is quite interesting. You've got one there where the actual cows play on the beach on occasion. So when you're going along, you actually see the cow, and it's like, that's just weird, because you normally expect cows to be in the field, but they're actually on the beach when the tide goes out. So, and they're having a great time, and it's almost like watching children.
It is. We did the same thing. What we did is we drove to Kirkcaldy and we got the train to Aberdour, and we walked from Aberdour back to Kirkcaldy. So it was just under, it was about 10.5 miles. Yeah. And there was one part of it that we were coming through, and when we went down to like down to Dysart, and we went down to Kinghorn beaches. I couldn't believe how beautiful they were. But there was one bit we were walking, and it was just kind of train track this side, a little fence, and then bushes this side. And I was so focused on what I was doing. And it's about, although I was enjoying it, I wasn't really observing because we were in an area where it was just bush and fence.
Yeah.
And Billy kind of made me stop, and I stopped. And honestly, it was awe-inspiring. There was this little baby deer just standing there looking at us as if to say hello. And it didn't flinch and it didn't move.
What you
and
doing,
it was,
Mark? Beat it.
honest to God, it was just standing there, like right next to us, as if to say, "Oh, hiya, what you up to?" It was amazing. It was such a beautiful moment, and kids just don't see that now, and it's great for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, you can get that now and again when you're down at the dam. You know, in Methil, when you go down the dam along the River Leven, which is getting 40 million spent on it, by the way. There's a 40 million investment going in it. You've got all these walks and proper lighting and everything like that getting invested into here. And a nature, they're going to revamp the whole river itself to make sure it flows naturally and it keeps the natural environment and the nature intact as well. So these are all things that are getting regenerated. These are all things that are getting done. It's like, you know, there's just so much out there. We just don't know about them. What about things like classes and workshops? You know, is there anything like that? I mean, where would all these be and where would we find them?
But there's loads of things to do. I mean, learning could be a really fun experience for kids out with school as well. Loads of people in places conjuring up all sorts of ideas and activities, both in real world and online, obviously. So some kids want to be online, but your church halls are great for doing events. No one thinks about your church halls. Sports centres are great for events and fun days out. Libraries even are doing readings and shows. They're great. Local schools have summer calendars as well. They're doing summer fetes, so they're great things for kids to enjoy as well. Lethem Glen actually is an unforgotten place to be. They have lots of activities on in there as well. And you're talking about nature and how everything's getting a bit cleaned up. We were there a few weeks ago and it was beautiful. The river was flowing nicely. It looked quite clear. And actually there was herring back in the river. And the herring disappeared for years because there was no food in the river. So the waterways are definitely getting cleaner. So for kids to see those as well is like really exciting. So definitely doing that. Summer camps, like you mentioned as well, Jim, if kids are into like brownies, Cubs, Boys Brigade, all those types of things, they're all doing summer camps. But actually, local businesses are doing them. A friend of mine, one of her local cafes, they actually put on an event where the kids could go for like a whole morning and they were baking cupcakes and having fun and just groups of kids playing together. So it's not just one-on-one with mum and dad type thing. So that's always something to explore as well. So again, definitely need to do a bit of homework and see what's going on locally for yourselves. Make sure you understand what days they're on, what times they're on, what week they're on, but make them practical as well. And they're good childcare solutions. I know it sounds nuts, but a whole morning baking cakes for kids is fun. But also they're getting looked after as well if mum and dad need to do something, because 6-7 weeks is a long time for parents to try and fill time to get the kids looked after as well, isn't it?
We used to spend a lot of time at Scripture Union. So Scripture Union used to do the clubs and during the summer period down at the beach. So they used to do a lot of stuff down there. So I remember we used to spend a lot of time there as well. So it was just really keeping yourself occupied and keeping yourself involved and stuff. And even the point of the burn, we used to sit and try and with a net to try and get sticklebacks.
Yeah.
Just the wee fish and that. I would get them and then put them in a jar and put them back, or just but I think we just put them back actually. And then eating up at classic example, Silverburn in the what was the retting pond, or they say it's not a retting pond. Apparently, they found out later on it's an overflow, because what it does is there's a pipe that comes in all the way from Skinnyburn, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, under the ground, all the way from Skinnyburn, all the way into there. That's the overflow for Skinnyburn, where it used to come into there. Obviously, that pipe's gone now because it'll have collapsed somewhere. But that's what that was designed for in the first place. So, but I tell you what, there used to be a lot of wildlife in there, and especially used to be a lot of tadpoles. Every single time, every single year, it was a wash of them everywhere. So this was a perfect opportunity. You'd go and get some tadpoles, you'd get your jar, you'd get your chickweed, you'd put it in, you'd look after. See, this is all about learning as well at the same time, isn't it? And being responsible for something to make sure it lives. Imagine a young child learning that at that age. This is why I got animals, because once I'd forgotten all about this. It was Anne, she's no longer with us, but Anne actually said to me one day about, having an animal and your kids being responsible for it and looking after it is a huge learning opportunity for them. And clearly at some point in time, they'll go before them. So it teaches them to deal with, to deal with that situation where loss of an animal, and how to deal with that at a younger age. So that's why we always had pets, for that very reason, because it does teach a responsibility from a very early age, and being responsible for something else or someone else as a result. And the other things as well. Let's go back to online. Let's not leave online out, because this is where we are just now. You've got the classes that sometimes you can learn on the YouTube channels for cooking, photography, music, and technology. And whilst the school run website, apparently it's called School Run, is perfect for educational catching up. Just in case anybody wants to learn while they're on holiday. No.
That's not fun.
Fun enough. Well, that says a lot, because I never wanted to learn anything while I was on holiday. But I said at the beginning, remember I said I was bored. It was more boredom after a couple of weeks. It's like, I've got nothing to do now. I'm bored. It's like, but I'll get easily bored after about 5 seconds. So that's probably what it was. It wasn't I wanted to be educated. It's the very fact I just wanted something to do. I needed something to do.
You wanted to be active.
Keeping you occupied. So if you do feel the urge to be educated when you're on holiday, then by all means, there is websites to do that for you and help you. Summer is the only season when children have so much time to play and discover, isn't it? Because it's I think it's 6 weeks or something like that to do it. So the holidays really can be a perfect opportunity to fuel their curiosity and discover their new hobbies that they want to do. I always picked up something new. And then by summer was over, that was the end of that hobby.
But it's not just that, though, but you're taking it through life, though, aren't you? That's the thing. It's the expression of yourself and what do I like? Trying things that are new and different. Yeah. What do I like?
Absolutely. Definitely. Well, it's exactly what you said. One of my things I used to, it was like jumping from place to place. But the thing was, it maybe just wasn't for me. So that's why I didn't gel with it. So there was a number of things, but here's the other thing as well. Probably one of the most important things is making time for you.
Yes.
So it's really easy and understandable. Give all your spare time to your children, but adults need time for themselves as well, whether together, alone, or with friends. So taking turns with other local parents, friends, family, and to look after each other's children can help you carve out a valuable space for yourself, giving you time for what could you do then? What could you do with that, Perry?
There's various things you can be doing, can't you? I mean, you might want to just be doing entertaining at home. You might
apart from straight down the pub.
Well, there's that. You can entertain from home or somewhere else. I'm somewhere else.
It comes to mind with me. It's like, I've got some time, right? Pub.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Billy's even done it today. We're meant to be having a quiet day. It's like, do you want to go for lunch? And I know what lunch will lead to. We'll wait and see. But entertaining at home, something that I like doing as well. Whether you love cooking or not. I love, like, I don't know, it's me. I'm a feeder thing. I like to cook meals and make cakes and see the joy that people have from doing that. So it's quite nice just to have some me time to do those types of things. It's also quite nice as well if you've got like-minded friends, which generally you surround yourself with people that are like-minded. Everybody brings something. So somebody brings a starter, somebody does the main, somebody does the sweet. It's just like a kind of entertaining thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like quite cultural fixes as well. I like to go to open air screens if they're out there. There's concerts that you can go to, which I enjoy. Theatre goers, I do theatre. I'm not big on theatre because I don't always want to go to Edinburgh, but actually I do support local things. This morning, actually, I'm going off piste, and I know this is about summer, but I'm just going to mention it. But the Buckkind Players have just announced their Christmas panto, guys, and it's Jack and the Beanstalk. Tickets are on sale now. I just bought 2 this morning, so go to their website, you'll be able to get them.
There's other places as well, though. You've got the King's Theatre in Kirkcaldy, just at the back of the old ABC cinema. And then you've also got the Alhambra, in Dunfermline,
Yeah.
which actually is quite good as well. So there is a lot of other things to do, and cultural fixes like opening and screenings at concerts, regular theatre and cinema listings, late night gallery openings if there's something local, especially in the East Nuke. You know, when you go along the East Nuke, it's the whole, you know, the standard joke is like it's probably survived on the local economy of selling driftwood to tourists for God knows how long now. But the reality is, when you go along there, there's lots of open galleries. Pittenweem Arts Festival was on all week this week,
That's right.
and I think it finishes today. So if you're not going along to the Pittenweem Arts Festival, get along there. I've got a funny feeling Phil Jupitus has got his house open as well, because Phil usually opens, you know, the comedian on and panelist and broadcaster and that. He usually opens his house there as well because he lives along there to some of the things that he's been doing artistic wise. So maybe get an opportunity to bump into Phil.
But they're great to do though, and it's like even if you look at the East Nuke Salt Company as well, what they're doing with their open dining, like the salt dining experience that they're putting on, that's a really great thing to be doing as well. So again, if you have got free time as an adult without the family, they do it like it's one big table. There's about 20 people sitting on it, and it just looks amazing. It looks great fun.
It seems to be such a buzz and a vibrant community in the East Nuke just now, in terms of people starting new businesses. The Ox and Anchor is a classic. I was reading about it last night, how they've come from the wee cabin to there. And then you've got the Scoop, the new ice cream shop on the front as well, which is amazing. So you've got all these different vibrant opportunities, and you've got the East Nuke Spirit Company, you know, with their rum, their specialist spiced rum. As you said, you've got the East Nuke Salt Company. You've got the Muffin Man. It's expanded. They've taken a TARDIS in Edinburgh, so they're actually in Edinburgh as well now. So the creativity and the expansion and the desire to succeed in that area is quite prevalent, isn't it? It's quite
very much so. And we're talking about, this is the section we're talking about here is about adults. But if we go back to what we have been discussing to this point, all the things we've spoke about is about children and growing up and being creative and experiences that you're giving them. And actually, those are the children that have probably done all those things that are now the adults now that are opening all these businesses.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
And that's
true.
the thing. But also, actually, a quiet night in's a good thing. I quite like a wee quiet night in. Get your candles on, chill out, bit of self-care, maybe watching a nice movie. I do sewing. I'm into cross-stitching and things, so just having some quiet time to do that. I quite like just switching off and doing that. But even maybe having a wee date night, because, you know, when you're a family, you're busy, aren't you? Mum and dad don't always get time for themselves. So a wee date night, get a nice dinner. The boring stuff like the unfinished DIY, which I know does not float your boat, Jim. That'll never happen.
Almost like real. But there was a day where it did. It's I think that's a mindset thing. That's a thing in your mind which actually, oh, this is just getting in the way of what I really want to do. And I think once you get what you really want to do at the way, then the DIY is quite good. You know, I do like it, and I do love it, because I am quite creative in what I do. I excelled in woodwork and metalwork at school. My teachers actually said you'd be a good tradesman. But so it does float my boat. But obviously, when you've got bigger fish to fry, you kind of just want to focus on that.
Yeah, it goes down.
There's this wee bit in your brain. It produces dopamine. And that's what, if you stimulate that, then that's what happens. You get drawn into something else because you just want to have that craving all the time. That's how advertisers know how to switch that on every time. That's how we know how to switch that on when we launch a property.
True. It's the same thing.
Years and years of working out exactly how to get that wee dopamine receptor to switch on every single time we launch a property. You're going to be buying it even though you don't want it.
Absolutely, that's the way to do it. But I think it's one of the things that I've recently done as well, is a wee wardrobe clean out as well. You know, it's nice just to have those times out where you can take yourself away from busyness and just down tools a little bit, do a bit of creative stuff at home, tidy up a little bit, have a bit of a clear out. I don't know, it's almost like you're cleansing your mind when you have a clear out, isn't it?
Yeah, psychological, isn't it? It's the old thing about, you know, when you walk into your work, is your desk clear? Tidy desk, tidy mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sort of concept. So if your desk is like like the either side paperwork, which mine isn't, by the way. I know you've seen my desk. I saw you've seen my desk in a different way. My desk is nice and clear.
Have you had a tidy up?
Yes, and the room's all tidy. I've got my shredder here to get rid of all my paperwork that I don't need. And so tidy up. Kind of forced.
That's because Elaine's
kind of forced, but it was coming anyway.
That's because Elaine's been decorating and getting painting done and new carpets and everything.
It's like I drew the line when she says, "I'll put a new carpet in your room." I went, "No way! I'm not moving anything in here. This is all staying where it is because I know it'll get lost in translation. And I'll be looking for it for the next 5 or 10 years." I know, cursing myself at the fact that why did I let this go down? There's nothing wrong with the carpet in here.
There's only you in there half the time, so it's fine.
That's it. And why? So why would I need to replace it?
But all the things we're talking about, just having a few hours to yourself can make a real difference for mum and dad to have a wee bit of recharge as well. A little bit of self-care, help you relax, and just get some balance back in your life as well and quiet the mind a little bit, because being busy parents trying to entertain kids for 6 weeks, it's a big challenge.
It is definitely, I would say. Definitely a challenge. It's something you have to do. But at any time of year, even off season, even when the kids are at school, it's challenging. Even when the kids are ill, it's like even when they're ill, they need to be entertained, unless they're sleeping all the time, which is very rare for some reason. So these are all just different things. So it's all great ideas and what you could do and inspiration for your family during any school holiday, I would say. So hopefully everybody will get some benefit out of that. The one thing, if you were going to suggest anything, what would be the one thing which you would recommend parents can do for their children?
For me, actually, for the parent and for the child, take that time out, enjoy them, make it fun, get experiences, because actually they're not children for long.
Yeah, good point. Good point, actually. It's I once saw something that said they'll remember the experiences that they've had with you, but they'll also remember how much you spent at work. It's like
exactly.
Aye. So take time out, spend that time, go to these school sports days, I would say. That would be highly recommended, and enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's a fun-filled time for you and your family, and hopefully what we've talked about today gives you plenty of top tips and ideas. Thanks for coming on, Perry. Very informative show as always. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for 5 Properties TV, and this has been Perry.
And that's Jim.
Oh, you got it right this time.
I know I normally always go that way.
Bye for now.